The message arrived without warning. One moment, the bridge of the human warship Defiance hummed with routine activity. The next, every screen flashed with the same symbol, a crimson circle bisected by a silver line. Captain James Walker knew that mark. Every ship captain in the galaxy feared it. "Blood and sky," he whispered. Around him, the bridge crew froze. The Defiance floated in the darkness of deep space, its hull marked with scars from 100 battles. Once sleek and gleaming, the vessel now wore its damage like badges of honor. The ship had earned its name many times over. "Play the message," Walker ordered, his voice steady despite the cold dread settling in his stomach. The main screen flickered, and an alien face appeared. The being had pale blue skin stretched tight over sharp bones. Its 4 eyes blinked in unison. "Captain James Walker of the human vessel Defiance," the alien said in flat, perfect English. "The Galactic Council summons you to answer before the Blood and Sky judges. You stand accused of violating neutral space during engagement with Vex Empire forces. You will proceed immediately to the judge's sanctum at coordinates attached. Refusal will be taken as admission of guilt." The screen went black. For several seconds, nobody spoke. "Well," Walker said finally, running a hand through his short gray hair, "I guess we have a new destination." First Officer Lisa Bell stepped forward. "Sir, you understand what this means." "The judges." Her voice trailed off. Walker nodded. Everyone knew about the Blood and Sky judges. Ancient beings who served as the ultimate authority in interstellar disputes. What most people knew, but never said aloud, was that no human vessel had ever faced the judges and returned intact. "Open a secure channel to Earth Command," Walker ordered. While they waited for the connection, Navigator Reed pulled up information about the sanctum's location. "It's a 3-day jump, Captain. On the edge of the 7th quadrant." Walker nodded. 3 days to prepare for what might be the Defiance's final mission. The communications officer spoke up. "Earth Command responding. Secure channel established." The view screen showed Admiral Wilson, her face grim. "Walker, we've received the notification of your summons." "Orders, Admiral." Wilson sighed. "Officially, you are to comply with the summons and maintain diplomatic protocols at all times." She paused, glancing off-screen as if checking for listeners. "Unofficially, this is an opportunity. No human has ever seen the inside of the sanctum. We need to know more about the judges, their capabilities, their weaknesses." "You want me to spy," Walker said bluntly. "I want you to survive," Wilson replied, "and to bring back anything useful. The Vex attacked first. We have the proof. But the judges have always favored the older species. Humans have only had faster-than-light travel for 70 years. To them, we're children. Dangerous children," Walker added. Wilson nodded. "Exactly why they fear us. The Defiance is more than just a ship to them. It's a symbol of human expansion. Be careful, James. This isn't just about one border skirmish." After the call ended, Walker addressed his senior staff in the briefing room. The ship's emblem, a phoenix rising from flames, hung on the wall behind him. "I won't sugarcoat this," he began. "We're heading into the lion's den. The sanctum predates most civilizations. The judges have eliminated entire species they deemed unworthy." Engineer Tom Garcia raised his hand. "Captain, what did we actually do?" "The Vex fired first. We crossed into the neutral zone to pursue them," Security Chief Marcus Stone answered. "Technically a violation, but they were using it as a safe harbor to attack our colonies." Walker nodded. "Exactly. We have proof, but that might not matter. To the Council, we're newcomers who don't know our place." He looked around the table. "Whatever happens, I need everyone at their best. Garcia, I want the engines ready for anything. Reed, plot every possible escape route from the sanctum. Stone, security protocols at maximum. No one comes aboard without my direct approval." As the meeting ended, Navigator Ellie Reed stayed behind. "Captain, I've been studying the star charts around the sanctum. There's something odd about that region. What kind of odd? Stars that should be there, errant, as if something's hiding them. Walker frowned. Keep looking into it. Quietly. The next 3 days passed quickly. The crew performed their duties with tense efficiency. Off duty, they spoke in hushed tones about the summons. Many recorded messages for families back home. On the final approach, Walker stood at the view screen as the Defiance dropped out of FTL. The sight before them silenced the bridge. The Sanctum hung in space like a massive thorn, a structure of impossible angles and dark metal. It stretched at least 20 kilometers from end to end, surrounded by ships from dozens of species. Some appeared to be permanent fixtures, their hulls integrated into the station itself. Life signs? Walker asked. Thousands, Reed replied. Maybe tens of thousands. Multiple species. The structure itself. Sir, I'm not sure it's entirely solid. Some readings suggest it exists partially in another dimension. The communications officer straightened suddenly. Captain, we're being hailed by multiple vessels. Most are warnings. Warnings? They're telling us to turn back. That humans aren't welcome. He hesitated. One message says no ship like ours has ever left the Sanctum intact. Walker squared his shoulders. Open a channel to the Sanctum. A voice answered, deep, vibrating at frequencies that made teeth ache. Human vessel. Proceed to docking bay 7. Blood and sky await. As they approached the designated bay, a sleek ship with blade-like wings cut across their path, forcing Reed to adjust course. Through the view screen, Walker could see alien faces watching from their bridge, laughing. What species is that? Walker asked. Marat. Stone answered. Old council members. They think this is funny. Walker's jaw tightened. Record everything. From this moment, we document it all. He turned to face his crew. The Defiance didn't get its name by backing down. They expected us to refuse this summons. They want an excuse. We won't give them one. The massive docking bay doors parted like the mouth of some ancient beast, revealing darkness within. Take us in, Walker ordered. Slow and steady. Let's show them humans know how to make an entrance. The Defiance moved forward, battle scars gleaming under the harsh lights of the Sanctum. Its human crew standing tall at their stations. Behind them, the docking bay doors closed with finality, sealing the fate of the first human warship to face the judgment of blood and sky. The docking clamps seized the Defiance with unexpected force, causing the entire ship to shudder. Captain Walker steadied himself against his command chair as warning lights flashed across the bridge. Status report, he ordered. Engineer Garcia's voice came through the comm. Those aren't normal docking clamps, Captain. They've locked onto our hull like they never planned to let go. They're also scanning us. Deep scans that are getting past our shields somehow. Walker frowned. Can they access our systems? Not yet, but they're trying. I've activated our highest security protocols. Good. Keep monitoring. Walker turned to Security Chief Stone. Prepare a welcome party. Standard diplomatic protocol. But I want everyone armed. Stone nodded grimly. Yes, sir. Before they could organize further, a message appeared on the main screen. Captain Walker and senior officers will present themselves at the central chamber in 1 hour. No weapons permitted. Walker looked at his first officer. Bell, you're staying aboard. If anything happens to me. With respect, sir, Bell interrupted. The message specifically requested senior officers. All of us. Walker wanted to argue, but knew she was right. The judges were already testing their obedience. Fine. Reed, Garcia, Stone, Bell, you're with me. Commander Taylor will have command of the ship. As they prepared to disembark, Walker received an unexpected message. Captain, there's someone requesting to come aboard. Says he knows you. Walker checked the external cameras and was surprised to see a familiar face. Let him in. I'll meet him at the airlock. Minutes later, Walker greeted Admiral Thomas Thorne, his former mentor and commander, now Earth's representative to the Galactic Council. James, Thorne said, extending his hand. His once strong frame now seemed diminished in the formal diplomatic uniform. I wish we were meeting under better circumstances. What are you doing here? Walker asked as they walked toward his ready room. When I heard the Defiance was summoned, I requested permission to observe. The judges rarely allow it, but my position afforded some leverage. Thorne lowered his voice once they were alone. James, you need to understand what you're walking into. This isn't just a trial. It's theater. The outcome was likely decided before you arrived. Walker's jaw tightened, so why bother with the show? Legitimacy. The council needs to maintain the illusion of fairness. But you need to know. Thorne hesitated. No human vessel has ever survived a judge's verdict. So I've heard, Walker replied. What about the evidence? The Vex attacked us first. Thorne shook his head. Evidence matters less than politics. The Vex have been members of the council for millennia. We've been here less than a century. Then what's your advice? Be respectful but not submissive. And watch for Lord Vextar. He's their chief prosecutor and has 3 of the 7 judges in his pocket. When the time came, Walker and his senior officers followed a long curved corridor that seemed to bend in impossible ways. The walls pulsed with faint light, creating the unsettling impression that they were walking through a living organism rather than a space station. They emerged into a vast chamber that defied the exterior dimensions of the sanctum. The ceiling rose hundreds of meters, disappearing into darkness. 7 massive thrones formed a semicircle, each occupied by a being of different species. Below them sat hundreds of representatives from across the galaxy, watching with curious or hostile eyes. The captain and officers of the human warship Defiance announced a thin, tall being with translucent skin. Walker led his team to the center of the room, where they stood on a circular platform that glowed faintly beneath their feet. You stand before the blood and sky judges, the announcer continued. The wisdom of ages, the balance of the cosmos, the final arbiters of galactic law. The central judge leaned forward. Unlike the others, this being was completely covered in ornate armor that concealed any hint of its true form. When it spoke, the voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. Captain James Walker, you are accused of violating neutral space during conflict with the Vex Empire, employing excessive force against retreating vessels, and demonstrating evolutionary unfitness for interstellar society. Walker's head snapped up at the final charge. Evolutionary unfitness. That wasn't in the summons. A ripple of murmurs spread through the watching crowd. The judges may consider all relevant matters, said a new voice. A tall, gray-skinned being with 6-fingered hands stepped forward. I am Lord Vextar, representing the injured party. The human's surprise only demonstrates their ignorance of our most basic procedures. Walker felt his temper rising, but kept his voice steady. My crew and I acknowledge the first charge while reserving the right to present mitigating evidence. We reject the second charge completely. As for the third, he paused, looking directly at the central judge. I wasn't aware that evolution was subject to legal judgment. More murmurs, some sounding almost approving. You will have opportunity to present your case, the central judge said. But first, Lord Vextar will detail the accusations. What followed was a masterful performance. Vextar showed recordings of the Defiance crossing into the neutral zone, firing upon Vex ships. Conveniently missing was any footage of the prior Vex attacks on human colonies. Furthermore, Vextar continued, the humans have shown a disturbing pattern of aggression. In just 70 years since achieving faster-than-light capability, they have built more warships than the Merat did in their first 3 centuries of space travel. Because we needed them, Walker interjected. The Vex have attacked our colony 6 times in the past year alone. The human speaks out of turn, Vextar said smoothly. Another sign of their species' impulsiveness. The central judge raised a hand. Captain Walker will have his turn to speak. The armored head turned toward him. You may present your opening statement. Walker stepped forward, feeling the eyes of hundreds of aliens upon him. He saw Thorne in the audience, giving an almost imperceptible nod. "Honorable judges," Walker began, "I won't pretend to know all your protocols and traditions. Humans are newcomers here, as everyone keeps reminding us. But there are some principles that should transcend cultures, like the right to defend ourselves." He activated a small device in his palm, projecting images above the platform. "These are recordings from 3 human colonies attacked by Vex forces in the past year. Note the civilian targets. Note the use of banned weapons." Vextar started to object, but Walker continued. "We pursued the Vex into neutral space because they were using it as a sanctuary after attacks. We regret the technical violation, but not the protection of our people." Walker looked around the chamber. "As for our evolutionary unfitness, I wonder how many species here were judged for their fitness when they first reached the stars. Or is this a new standard created just for humans?" The room fell silent. Walker could feel his crew standing tall behind him. "I challenge the legitimacy of that charge," he concluded, "and I respectfully request that this court focus on the specific incident rather than putting my entire species on trial." The central judge was still for a long moment before speaking. "Bold words, Captain Walker, but you misunderstand. This court is not merely addressing one incident." The judge's voice grew colder. "Your species' very right to maintain a military presence in space is what we will decide." Walker felt as if the floor had dropped from beneath him. He glanced at Thorne, whose face had gone pale. "This trial will reconvene tomorrow," the central judge announced. "The human officers will be escorted back to their vessel." As they were led away, First Officer Bell whispered, "Captain, did they just threaten all of humanity?" Walker nodded grimly. "It seems we're not just fighting for the Defiance anymore. We're fighting for Earth itself." Back aboard the Defiance, Captain Walker called an emergency meeting in the secure briefing room. His senior officers gathered around the table, faces grim. "They're not just putting us on trial," Walker said. "They're putting all of humanity on trial." Security Chief Stone slammed his fist on the table. This was their plan all along. Use one border incident as an excuse to disarm the entire human race. The question is why now? First Officer Bell asked. "We've had conflicts with the Vex before." Engineer Garcia cleared his throat. "Captain, there's something else you should know. While you were at the trial, I detected unusual activity in our systems. Someone or something is trying to copy our databases." Walker's eyes narrowed. "Can you block it?" "I've put up additional firewalls, but their technology is advanced. They're using methods I've never seen before." Navigator Reed spoke up next. "Sir, I've been mapping the sanctum since we arrived. There are discrepancies in the structure's dimensions. Corridors that should connect don't. Spaces that are bigger inside than outside." "Some kind of spatial manipulation technology?" Walker asked. Reed nodded. "Yes, but there's more. I found access points that don't appear on any official maps. Service tunnels, maybe. They might provide alternative routes through the station." Walker considered this information. "Good work, both of you. Reed, I want you to continue mapping those secret passages. Garcia, protect our sensitive data at all costs, especially defense codes for Earth." "What about the trial tomorrow?" Bell asked. "We play their game. For now," Walker replied. "But we also prepare for the worst. Stone, I want security teams ready to move on short notice. Bell, try to make contact with representatives from other newer species. We can't be the only ones who faced this kind of judgment." As the meeting ended, Walker was surprised to receive a message requesting his presence at a diplomatic reception being held on the sanctum. It seemed an odd courtesy given the circumstances, but he decided to attend. It might provide valuable intelligence. The reception was held in a vast hall with transparent walls that revealed the starscape beyond. Representatives from dozens of species mingled, drinking colorful liquids and engaging in careful diplomatic conversation. Walker felt eyes following him as he entered. "Captain Walker," a voice called. Walker turned to see a tall, slender being with iridescent scales approaching. "I am Ambassador Kelth of the Krith Federation. May we speak?" Walker nodded, and they moved to a quieter corner. "Your opening statement today was impressive," Kelth said. "Few have the courage to challenge the judges so directly." "Thank you," Walker replied carefully. "The Krith are relatively new to the council as well, aren't they?" Kelth's scales rippled, a sign of emotion. "Yes, we faced our own trial 50 years ago. The charges were different, but the intent was the same. And the outcome? We surrendered our right to build certain classes of warships, a compromise that allowed us to keep our independence." Kelth leaned closer. "But we've regretted it ever since. The older species see concession as weakness." Their conversation was interrupted by the appearance of Lord Vextar, flanked by 2 guards. "Captain Walker," Vextar said with a thin smile. "Enjoying our hospitality?" "It's certainly educational," Walker replied evenly. Vextar's 6 eyes blinked in sequence. "I hope you're preparing for tomorrow. The judges can be thorough in their questioning." "I look forward to it," Walker said, maintaining eye contact. "Especially since we'll be discussing the Vex attacks on human colonies that preceded our response." Vextar's smile faded. "Ancient wisdom teaches that the young must learn their place in the universe, Captain. Some lessons are harder than others." With that, he turned and walked away. Kelth's scales had darkened. "Be careful, Captain. The Vex have long memories and little mercy." Meanwhile, Reed and Stone had taken advantage of the distraction caused by the reception to explore the sanctum. Using Reed's maps, they slipped through a maintenance access point near the Defiance's docking bay. "These passages are designed for service drones," Reed whispered as they crawled through a narrow tunnel. "The biological species on the sanctum probably never use them." Stone checked his handheld scanner. "No life signs nearby. Where are we heading?" "There's a data hub 2 levels down. If we can access it, we might find records of previous trials." They moved carefully through the network of tunnels, avoiding patrol drones by hiding in recessed alcoves. Finally, they reached a small chamber filled with pulsing light panels. "This is it," Reed said, connecting a device to one of the panels. "This translator should let us access their records." The data that appeared made both of them go pale. "Stone, look at this," Reed whispered. "Records of every trial for the past 1,000 years." And the verdict, she swallowed hard. No species designated as aggressive has ever been acquitted. They either surrendered their military capacity or what? Stone asked. "Were eliminated. Entire civilizations gone." Reed continued scrolling through the data. "And look at this section about Earth. They've been monitoring us since our first faster-than-light test. They've already determined we're evolutionarily aggressive." Stone leaned closer to the screen. "What's this?" "Project Eclipse." Reed accessed the file. Images appeared of a massive weapon array. "It looks like the sanctum itself houses some kind of planet-killer weapon. And these coordinates," her voice trailed off. "Those are Earth's coordinates," Stone finished grimly. Back on the Defiance, Garcia had made a disturbing discovery of his own. The intrusion into their systems wasn't just copying data, it was specifically targeting Earth's defense codes and shield frequencies. "Captain," he reported when Walker returned from the reception, "they're not just gathering evidence for a trial. They're preparing for an attack." Walker processed this information alongside the reports from Reed and Stone. The picture becoming clear was far worse than he had imagined. "The trial is just for show," he said finally. "They've already decided to neutralize humanity as a threat." "What do we do?" Bell asked. "We're one ship against an entire station full of the most powerful species in the galaxy." Walker looked at each of his officers. "We fight the way humans always have, by being smarter, more adaptable, and more stubborn than anyone expects." He moved to the ship's tactical display. "Garcia, can you create a virus to protect our defense codes?" Garcia nodded. "Already working on it." "Reed, How well have you mapped those secret passages? Well enough to reach several key systems, including their main communication array. Walker nodded. Good. And Stone, I need a security team ready to move on my signal. What's the plan, Captain? Bell asked. Walker's eyes were hard with determination. They think this trial is about judging us. By the time we're done, the entire galaxy will know who the real criminals are. Outside the viewports of the Defiance, the massive structure of the Sanctum loomed. Somewhere in that ancient station, the Blood and Sky judges were preparing their verdict, unaware that their human prey had discovered their true intentions. The trap was set, but the hunters would soon learn what happened when humans were cornered. Dawn on the Sanctum wasn't marked by sunlight, but by a gradual brightening of the station's ambient glow. Captain Walker had barely slept, spending most of the night planning with his officers. Now, as he prepared to return to the central chamber, he knew today might be their last chance. "Are we ready?" he asked, looking around at his team. Garcia nodded. "The virus is complete. If they try to access our defense codes again, it will not only block them but backtrack through their systems and locate their command protocols. The security teams are in position," Stone reported. "On your signal, we can move to secure key areas of the ship." Reed spread out her completed map of the Sanctum's hidden passages. "I've identified 3 critical targets: the main communications array, the weapon control center, and the historical archives." Walker studied the map. "Good work, all of you. Bell, what about our diplomatic channels?" First Officer Bell frowned. "Cut off. I tried to send a message to Earth Command, but all our communications are being blocked." "As expected," Walker said. "They don't want Earth to know what's happening until it's too late." He straightened his uniform. "Let's proceed with the plan. I'll return to the trial and keep their attention focused on me. The rest of you know your roles." As Walker made his way back to the central chamber, he was intercepted by Admiral Thorne. "James," Thorne said urgently, pulling him into an alcove. "Things are worse than I thought. The judges have scheduled their verdict for today, not tomorrow as announced. They're accelerating their timeline," Walker said. "Have you heard anything about Project Eclipse?" Thorne's eyes widened. "How do you know about that?" "My crew has been busy. Is it what we think it is?" Thorne nodded grimly. "A weapons platform designed to neutralize planetary defenses from a distance. They've used it before, on species deemed too dangerous. We need to warn Earth." "Impossible. All direct communications are monitored." Thorne hesitated. "James, I have to ask, what are you planning?" Walker looked at his old mentor. "Something desperate. You might want to distance yourself from me today." Thorne surprised him with a firm grip on his shoulder. "Not a chance. Earth stands together." The central chamber was more crowded than the day before. Word had spread about the unusual trial, and representatives from across the galaxy had come to witness the proceedings. Walker took his place on the central platform, alone this time. The central judge's armor seemed to absorb light as the massive figure leaned forward. "Captain Walker, before we continue, the court has received disturbing reports of unauthorized access to restricted areas of the Sanctum. Would you care to explain?" Walker kept his expression neutral. "I'm afraid I don't know what you're talking about. My crew and I have respected all boundaries set for us." Lord Vextar stepped forward. "More deception. Our systems detected human biosignatures in maintenance tunnels last night. This blatant espionage only confirms their unfitness for civilized society." Walker turned to face Vextar directly. Interesting accusation from the representative of an empire that launched unprovoked attacks on human colonies and then hid in neutral space. If we're discussing deception, perhaps we should examine the Vex Empire's recent activities. Murmurs spread through the audience. Walker noticed several representatives from younger species watching with particular interest. "Enough," the central judge thundered. "This court will not be diverted by counter-accusations. Captain Walker, we have reviewed your evidence and find it insufficient to justify your violation of neutral space." Walker had expected this. Then I request permission to present additional evidence, evidence that speaks not just to this incident, but to the true nature of these proceedings. What additional evidence? The judge demanded. Evidence of corruption within this very court, Walker said clearly, his voice carrying throughout the chamber. Evidence that the blood and sky judges have systematically eliminated species they deem threatening, not to galactic peace, but to the dominance of the founding council members. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. The central judge rose to its full height, towering over Walker. This is an outrage. You have no such evidence. Don't I? Walker challenged. What about the records of previous trials? What about Project Eclipse? What about the weapon currently aimed at Earth's coordinates? For the first time, the central judge seemed speechless. Lord Vextar moved forward, rage evident in his posture. This human speaks treason. Guards, remove him. But before anyone could move, the main screens around the chamber flickered. Reed had succeeded in her mission to the communications array. Suddenly, the screens displayed ancient records, trials, verdicts, and the subsequent disappearance of entire civilizations. What you are seeing, Walker announced to the stunned audience, is the true history of the blood and sky judges, not impartial arbiters, but executioners for the oldest species, eliminating any rising civilization that might one day challenge their power. Meanwhile, aboard the Defiance, Garcia was implementing his part of the plan. The virus he had created did more than protect their systems. It was now spreading through the Sanctum's network, revealing the secret communications between the judges and the Vex Empire. Stone and his security team had moved to secure the docking clamps, preparing for a potential emergency departure. They encountered resistance from station security drones, but managed to disable them without raising general alarms. Back in the central chamber, chaos had erupted. Some representatives were demanding explanations, others were calling for Walker's immediate execution, and still others were trying to flee the chamber. The central judge slammed a massive armored fist down, creating a shockwave that silenced the room. Enough. This human has fabricated evidence to save himself from judgment. We will proceed directly to verdict. Walker stood his ground. The evidence speaks for itself, and there's more coming. On cue, the screens changed again, now showing detailed plans for attacks on Earth, plans that predated the border incident by months. The Vex Empire and certain members of this court planned to eliminate humanity from the beginning, Walker said. Our only crime was expanding too quickly, developing too rapidly. Our only crime was being human. The central judge's voice had changed, becoming colder, more mechanical. The verdict is rendered. The human species is deemed evolutionarily unfit. Captain James Walker and all humans present are sentenced to immediate termination. Project Eclipse will commence within the hour. Walker had expected this, but still felt a chill at the formal condemnation of his entire species. He tapped a hidden communicator. Now, he said simply. Throughout the sanctum, systems began to malfunction. Lights flickered, doors opened and closed randomly, and alarm sirens wailed. Garcia's virus had reached the station's main control systems. What is happening? Lord Vextar demanded. Walker smiled grimly. That would be the Defiance living up to its name. On the screens above, new images appeared, secret communications between Lord Vextar and 3 of the judges, planning the elimination of not just humans, but several other problematic younger species. As guards moved toward Walker, Admiral Thorne stepped forward, standing beside him. Earth stands with its own, he said firmly. Ambassador Kelth of the Krith Federation moved to join them, followed by representatives from 2 other younger species. The time of secrets is over, Walker declared to the chamber. Today, the judges themselves are judged. Chaos ruled the central chamber. The screens continued to display damning evidence while the station's alarms blared. Captain Walker stood at the center of the storm, flanked by Admiral Thorne and representatives from other younger species. Arrest them all. Lord Vextar commanded, his voice rising to a shriek. The central judge raised a massive armored hand. Enough. This disruption changes nothing. The verdict stands. The judge turned to face the wider audience. Clear the chamber. All ships are ordered to remain docked until further notice. Walker's communicator vibrated. Garcia's voice came through. Captain, we have a problem. I've detected multiple Vex warships moving into position around the sanctum. They weren't here before. Walker understood immediately. They planned for this possibility. If the trial didn't go as expected, they'd use force. He tapped his communicator again. Bell, prepare the Defiance for immediate departure. Combat protocols. First Officer Bell's voice was steady. Aye, Captain. But the docking clamps are still engaged. Stone will handle that. Just be ready. The central chamber was emptying rapidly as representatives rushed to their ships. Walker noticed Ambassador Kelth speaking urgently with delegates from other species. It's time to leave, Walker told Thorne. Things are about to get complicated. As they moved toward the exit, the main doors sealed shut. The central judge's voice echoed through the room. Captain Walker, did you really think we would allow you to spread these lies? Your ship will be detained and your crew executed as an example. Walker smiled grimly. You still don't understand humans, do you? We rarely do what's expected. At that moment, throughout the sanctum, Reed's team activated the final phase of their plan. The station's artificial gravity fluctuated wildly. Lights failed completely, plunging the chamber into darkness before emergency systems cast everything in a dim red glow. What have you done? The central judge demanded. Created a distraction, Walker replied simply. In the darkness, Stone and his security team had reached the main docking control room. Using Reed's maps, they had bypassed the regular corridors and emerged directly behind the surprise technicians. Nobody move, Stone ordered as his team secured the room. We just need to borrow your console for a moment. With quick, practiced movements, Stone overrode the docking clamp protocols. Throughout the sanctum, ships found themselves suddenly free. Back in the central chamber, Walker's communicator vibrated again. Docking clamps released, Captain, Stone reported. But we've got company. Station security is converging on our position. Get back to the ship, Walker ordered. We'll meet you there. The central judge had risen to its full height, the armor now emitting a faint glow. You cannot escape, human. Even if you reach your ship, the Vex fleet will destroy you. Maybe, Walker conceded, but we'll make sure the truth escapes with us. He turned to Thorne and the other representatives. It's time to choose. Stay and continue living under their corruption, or leave with us and spread the truth. Kelth stepped forward. The Krith Federation stands with humanity. Two other representatives joined them, while several more hesitated, clearly torn. The massive doors began to spark as station security tried to cut through from the outside. They had little time left. There's another way out, Walker said, pointing to a maintenance access panel Reed had identified in her explorations. Through there, we can reach the docking bay directly. As they moved toward the panel, the central judge's voice boomed. This changes nothing. You have merely accelerated your species' extinction. Walker paused and looked back. You know what your mistake was. You judged us by your standards. You thought because we're young, we're weak. But humanity hasn't survived this long by being weak. We survived by adapting, by outsmarting stronger predators. He smiled without humor, just like we're doing now. They escaped through the maintenance tunnel just as the main doors burst open. Racing through the narrow passages, they emerged near the docking bay where the Defiance waited, engines already humming with power. Captain on deck, Bell announced as Walker rushed onto the bridge. Status report, Walker ordered, dropping into his command chair. All systems ready, Bell reported. But the Vex fleet has us surrounded. 7 warships in blocking formation. Walker studied the tactical display. Are the communication channels still open? Garcia nodded. Yes, sir. Our virus is still active in their network. Good. Broadcast everything we've discovered on all frequencies. Make sure every ship in the sector receives it. Walker turned to Reed. Plot a course through their blockade. Find me their weakest point. Reed's fingers flew over her console. There's a gap between their flagship and their second destroyer. It's small, but we might make it. That's all I need. Stone, weapons status. All weapons charged and ready, Captain. Walker opened a channel to the entire ship. Crew of the Defiance, this is your captain. We're about to attempt something that's never been done before. Escape from the sanctum against the wishes of the blood and sky judges. I won't lie to you. The odds are against us. But remember what this ship stands for. Remember what humanity stands for. We don't give up. We don't surrender. We defy. A cheer echoed through the ship's corridors. Detach all remaining moorings, Walker ordered. Full power to forward shields. Targeting systems on the gap between the Vex vessels. The Defiance broke free from its docking cradle, thrusters flaring brightly against the darkness of space. Almost immediately, the Vex ships opened fire. Energy beams slashed across the void, some glancing off the Defiance's shields in showers of sparks. The ship shuddered under the impacts. Return fire, Walker commanded. Target their weapons arrays only. We're not starting a war. We're finishing one. The Defiance's main cannons roared to life, striking with surprising precision. 2 Vex ships veered off, their weapon systems disabled. They didn't expect us to fight back, Stone observed with satisfaction. They never do, Walker replied. Full speed toward the gap. Reed, get us out of here. The Defiance surged forward, engines straining. Behind them, the sanctum had gone dark as Garcia's virus completed its work, shutting down critical systems, including Project Eclipse. More ships appeared on their sensors, but not Vex vessels. Ambassador Kelth's voice came through the comm system. Captain Walker, the Krith Federation stands with humanity. Our ships will cover your escape. Other vessels joined them, representatives from species who had suffered under the Judge's corruption, now seizing their chance for freedom. The Vex flagship moved to block their escape route, charging its main cannon. They're powering up for a killing shot, Bell warned. Walker nodded. Divert all power to forward shields. Stay on course. The Vex weapon fired, a searing beam of energy that struck the Defiance head-on. The ship bucked violently, systems overloading. Smoke filled the bridge as consoles exploded. Damage report, Walker shouted over the alarms. Shields at 12%, Garcia reported. Hull breaches on decks 3 and 4, emergency force fields holding. Still on course, Reed added, her face illuminated by the glow of her console. Impact in 10 seconds. The Vex flagship loomed before them, trying to adjust its position to block their escape. Too late, Walker whispered. They're too slow. The Defiance shot through the narrowing gap between enemy ships, scraping its hull against the Vex flagship's shields. Then they were clear, accelerating away from the sanctum and the Vex blockade. We made it, Bell said in disbelief. Walker nodded, watching as the Allied ships followed their path to freedom. Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them everything. And let every species in the galaxy know that the reign of the blood and sky judges is over. As the Defiance limped toward Earth, its hull scared and systems barely functioning, the crew gathered on the observation deck to watch the sanctum shrink in the distance. What they had done would change the galaxy forever. What happens now, Captain? Reed asked quietly. Walker looked at the stars ahead, at the future waiting for humanity and all the other species freed from the Judge's corruption. Now, he said with a smile, now we build something better. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Confederation headquarters buzzed with excitement. Tall windows showed the stars and the many ships moving outside. Today was a big day. After years of talks, Earth was finally joining the Confederation. Commander Jack Miller stood tall in his Blue Earth Space Force uniform. He watched as Earth's President Rogers signed the treaty. Cameras flashed. Aliens of all shapes and sizes clapped with their various limbs. Some had blue skin, others had scales, and a few even floated in the air. A new era of peace and cooperation, President Rogers said with a smile. The alien delegates nodded in agreement. Jack should have felt happy. Earth was now part of the largest group of advanced species in the known galaxy. But something about the treaty bothered him. He had read it front to back many times. Section 27, Article 12 was clear. Earth must not build, design, or maintain warships of any kind. Earth's defense will be provided by Confederation forces. After the ceremony, Jack walked to the observation deck. The massive Confederation warships floated in space. Their smooth hulls gleamed in the light of the nearby sun. Each one could destroy a small moon. And humans weren't allowed to build anything like them. Impressive, aren't they? A deep voice said behind him. Jack turned to see Admiral Tolrax, the head of Confederation defense in this sector. Tolrax had gray skin with small ridges on his face. His 4 eyes blinked at different times. Yes, Admiral. Very impressive, Jack said. I just wonder why Earth can't build ships to help defend human colonies. Tolrax's mouth formed what might have been a smile. The treaty is for everyone's good, Commander. New species often misunderstand galactic politics. It's safer this way. Safer for whom? Jack thought, but didn't say. Tell me, Admiral, Jack said instead. How quickly can Confederation ships reach our outer colonies if there's trouble? Some are very far from your bases. We have the fastest ships in the galaxy, Tolrax said. You need not worry. But Jack did worry. He had spent 20 years in Earth's space forces. He knew that in space, even minutes could mean the difference between life and death. 3 days later, Jack sat in his new office at the Earth Embassy. His job was to be the link between Earth's military and the Confederation. A screen on his wall showed the positions of all Confederation ships near human space. Something was wrong. 3 Confederation defense cruisers had moved away from the human colony on Taw City. That colony had over 50,000 people. Now it had no protection at all. Jack sent a message to Admiral Tolrax. Request information on ship movements near Taw City. The reply came an hour later. Regular patrol adjustments. No cause for concern. Jack didn't believe it. He checked the other human colonies. 2 more had lost their Confederation protectors in the last week. His comm unit beeped. It was an encrypted call from Earth. Jack pressed the accept button, and the face of his old friend Dr. Lisa Collins appeared. Jack, how's life among the aliens? Lisa asked with a smile. Her curly hair was tied back, and she had dark circles under her eyes. She was one of Earth's best ship engineers. Not good, Lisa, Jack said. Something strange is happening with the Confederation ships. They're moving away from our colonies. Lisa's smile faded. That matches what I'm hearing from my contacts. The treaty is barely dry, and they're already leaving us exposed. Can we talk securely? Jack asked. Lisa nodded and typed something on her end. We're on a quantum lock channel now. What's on your mind? The treaty says we can't build warships, but our colonies need protection, Jack said. If the Confederation won't do it, then we need to find another way. Lisa finished his thought. But how? The Confederation inspects all our shipyards. Jack leaned forward. I need you to look at the exact words of the treaty. Every legal document has loopholes. Find ours. That's not really my area of expertise, Lisa said. I build ships. I don't read legal papers. You're the smartest person I know, Jack said. And right now, Earth needs your brain more than ever. Lisa sighed. Fine, I'll look at it. But no promises. That's all I ask, Jack said. After they ended the call, Jack returned to the screen showing ship movements. Now he noticed something else. At the very edge of human space, near the colony on Wolf 359, strange signals were appearing. They weren't Confederation ships. They weren't human either, Jack zoomed in and ran the signals through the Confederation database. A warning flashed on his screen. Possible Vorax scout ships detected. Jack's blood went cold. The Vorax. During his welcome briefing, they had been mentioned as a non-Confederation species with territorial disputes, but he had heard whispers from other species officers. The Vorax didn't have disputes. They took what they wanted and destroyed anyone who stood in their way. And now they were at the edge of human space, with Confederation ships moving away. Jack sent an urgent message to Admiral Tolrax. Vorax ships detected near Wolf 359 colony. Request immediate Confederation response. He waited 1 hour, 2 hours. No response came. Jack's comm beeped again. It was Lisa. "Jack," she said, her eyes wide with excitement. "I found something in the treaty. Section 27. Article 12 forbids warships, but nowhere in the entire document does it define what a warship actually is." "What are you saying?" Jack asked. "I'm saying that technically, if we build ships that aren't primarily designed for war, but could be modified if needed, we might not be breaking the treaty." Jack felt a spark of hope. Industrial ships. Mining vessels. Exactly. Lisa nodded. With the right designs, the right modifications. Jack looked at the screen again. The Vorax signals were stronger now. "Lisa, I need you to start drawing up plans immediately. I think we're about to have visitors, and I don't think the Confederation is going to help us welcome them." Lisa's face became serious. "I'll get my team together." "But Jack, if we're caught doing this—" "I know," Jack said, "but we don't have a choice. Earth is on its own now." As they ended the call, Jack stared at the Vorax signals. Humanity had just joined the galactic community, but it seemed they would have to fight to keep their place in it. 2 weeks after their discovery, Jack Miller sat in a small plane room deep inside the Jupiter shipyards. The walls were gray metal, and the only window showed the massive gas giant outside, its swirling storms of red and orange moving slowly. The table was covered with paper plans and small holographic displays. "Let me get this straight," Marcus Wilson said, rubbing his bald head. "We're going to build ships that aren't warships, but can turn into warships when we need them to." Marcus was Earth's top expert on defense systems. His dark skin contrasted with the bright white of his shirt. "That's exactly it," Lisa said. She pointed to a hologram showing a large ship. "This is officially a mining vessel. See these parts here? They're for cutting through asteroids. Or cutting through enemy ships," Jack added. Dr. Anna Patel, a small woman with quick hands, nodded as she looked at the plans. "And these engines are standard civilian models, but I can make them push 40% harder with a few changes. Changes that wouldn't show up on a basic inspection. The key is that nothing we build will be a warship when it leaves the dock," Lisa explained. "But with the right commands, the right switches flipped, it becomes something else entirely." Marcus finished with a smile. Jack looked at the small team he had gathered. Besides Lisa, Marcus, and Anna, there were 5 other engineers and designers in the room. All people he trusted, all people who understood what was at stake. "What we're doing," Jack said, "is not strictly against the treaty, but the Confederation won't see it that way if they find out too soon. So absolute secrecy is essential." Everyone nodded. They knew the risks. "How long until we have a working prototype?" Jack asked. Lisa looked at the others, then back at Jack. 3 months for the first one. Maybe 6 months before we have a small fleet ready." "We may not have 6 months," Jack said. He brought up his own hologram showing the movement of the Vorax ships. They were still at the edge of human space, but their numbers were growing. "Then we'll have to work faster," Anna said simply. Work began immediately. The Jupiter shipyards were busy places, with hundreds of ships being built or repaired at any time. The team's special project was just one more job among many, hidden in plain sight. They called their ships conversion ships, or sea ships for short. On paper, they were industrial vessels meant for mining operations in the asteroid belt. but every part of them was designed with a dual purpose. The mining lasers could be adjusted to military strength. The thick hull, supposedly for protection against asteroid impacts, could withstand enemy fire. The large cargo holds could be filled with missiles instead of ore. 1 month into the project, Jack received a message from Earth Central Command. A Confederation inspector was coming to Jupiter to check on human shipbuilding activities. "How much do they know?" Lisa asked when Jack told the team. "I don't think they know anything specific," Jack said. "It's probably a routine inspection. But we can't take chances." For 3 days, they worked to hide any evidence of their true intentions. Military-grade components were disguised as civilian parts. Weapon mounts were covered with mining equipment. Secret compartments were sealed. The day of the inspection arrived. The Confederation representative was named Creel, a tall alien with long arms and green skin that seemed to shimmer in the light. His eyes were large and black, missing nothing. "Commander Miller," Creel said, his translator converting his clicking language to English, "I am here to ensure treaty compliance." "Of course," Jack said with a smile. "We're happy to show you our operations. We have nothing to hide." Creel's eyes narrowed slightly. "All species say that, Commander. Yet it is remarkable how often they are mistaken." For hours, Creel inspected the shipyards. He examined the sea ship prototype carefully, scanning every part with his devices. Jack's heart raced each time the inspector paused or looked more closely at something. Finally, they reached the end of the tour. Creel looked at his datapad. "Your mining vessels have unusually robust power systems," he noted. "Asteroid mining requires a lot of energy," Lisa explained, "especially in the outer belt where the rocks are larger. And these shield generators, they are quite advanced for civilian ships. Safety is our top priority," Marcus added. "Space is dangerous. Micrometeorites, radiation. We take no chances with our crews." Creel was silent for a long moment, his black eyes moving from the humans to the ship and back again. Finally, he nodded. "I find no violations of the treaty," he said. "But I will be watching your activities closely, Commander. Very closely." After Creel left, the team gathered in their meeting room again. "That was too close," Anna said, wiping sweat from her forehead. "But we passed," Lisa pointed out. "And now we know what they're looking for. We can be more careful." Jack looked at the latest data on the Vorax. Their ships had moved closer to the Wolf 359 colony. "We need to speed things up," he said. "I have a feeling we're running out of time." Over the next 2 months, they completed work on the first sea ship. They named it Loophole, a small joke that only the team understood. Jack arranged for the ship to be crewed by former military personnel who now worked civilian jobs. People who could be trusted. People who knew how to fight if it came to that. On the day of the first test, Jack, Lisa, Marcus, and Anna watched from a small observation room as Loophole moved away from the shipyard. "All systems normal," came the voice of Captain Tom Reeves, another old friend of Jack's who now commanded the ship. "Beginning conversion test in 3, 2, 1. Now." On the screen, they watched as parts of the ship seemed to shift and change. Mining equipment rotated to reveal weapons underneath. Shield emitters glowed as they powered up to military strength. Engine outputs doubled as safety limiters were bypassed. In less than 2 minutes, the mining vessel had become something else, something the treaty forbade. "Conversion complete," Captain Reeves reported. "All systems operational. Weapons hot. Shields at maximum." Lisa smiled with pride. It worked. It actually worked. "Now let's hope we never need to use it," Jack said, but he didn't believe his own words. The Vorax were coming. It was only a matter of time. As if on cue, his communication device beeped with an urgent message from Earth. Jack read it and looked up at the others, his face grim. "The Vorax have attacked the mining outpost at Wolf 359, he said, and the Confederation ships that were supposed to protect it are nowhere to be found. Alarms blared throughout Earth Central Command. Red lights flashed on the large screens showing the Wolf 359 system. The mining outpost there was home to over 5,000 people, mostly miners and their families. "Play the distress call again," ordered General Diane Roberts, the head of Earth's remaining defensive forces. A scratchy voice filled the command center. "This is Wolf 359 outpost. We are under attack by unknown vessels. Repeat, we are under attack. Confederation defense ships are not responding to our calls. We need immediate assistance." The message ended with sounds of explosions and screams. Jack stood before the general's desk, his face set in determination. "General, we have a ship that can help them." "One ship?" General Roberts raised an eyebrow. "Against what looks like a small Vorax fleet." "It's a special ship," Jack said carefully, "and it's already near Wolf 359, doing mining operations." The general's eyes narrowed. "What kind of special ship, Commander? We both know the treaty forbids warships." Jack took a deep breath. "It's not exactly a warship, ma'am. It's a mining vessel that can be converted." For a long moment, the general said nothing. Then she leaned forward. "Tell me everything." 10 minutes later, after Jack had explained the Sea Ship program, General Roberts stood up and looked at the screens showing the attack. "If the Confederation finds out about this, it could mean serious trouble for Earth," she said. "If we do nothing, those 5,000 people die," Jack replied. "And the Vorax won't stop there." The general nodded slowly. "Make the call, Commander. But understand this. If it goes wrong, I will deny all knowledge of your operation." "Understood, Mom." Jack rushed to the communication room and sent an encrypted message to the loophole. "Wolf 359 under attack. Conversion authorized. Save our people." Aboard the loophole, Captain Tom Reeves read the message and immediately called his crew to battle stations. "Begin conversion sequence," he ordered. "Full military power. And get us to Wolf 359 at maximum speed." The ship hummed and clicked as hidden systems came online. Panels slid open to reveal weapon ports. The engines roared as their limiters were removed. "Conversion complete," reported the first officer. "ETA to Wolf 359. 20 minutes. "Too long," Tom muttered. "Anna, are you there?" He activated a direct channel to Jupiter, where Anna Patel was monitoring the ship's systems. "I'm here, Captain." Anna's voice came through. "What do you need?" "More speed." "Those people don't have 20 minutes. There was a pause. Then Anna said, "I can give you more, but it might damage the engines. They weren't designed for this kind of stress." "Do it," Tom ordered. "Lives are more important than engines." The ship lurched as Anna remotely adjusted the engine settings. The stars outside seemed to stretch as the loophole pushed beyond its designed limits. "New ETA, 8 minutes, the navigation officer announced. When they arrived at Wolf 359, the scene was chaotic. 3 Vorax ships, sleek and deadly with strange purple energy flowing across their hulls, were firing on the mining outpost. The station's simple shields were failing. 2 small transport ships were trying to escape, but were being targeted by the Vorax. "Target the Vorax ship attacking the transports," Tom ordered. "Fire when ready." The weapons officer looked nervous. None of them had ever been in a real space battle before. "Firing, sir." The mining lasers, now running at military power, shot out and struck the Vorax ship. The enemy vessel seemed surprised, turning quickly to face this new threat. They didn't expect resistance, Tom realized. They thought this area was defenseless. The Vorax ship fired back, purple energy beams slicing through space toward the loophole. "Evasive maneuvers," Tom shouted. The ship rolled to the side, but one beam grazed their hull. "Shield holding at 82%, reported the defensive systems officer. but their weapons are stronger than we expected. Focus all power on the lead ship, Tom ordered, and send a message to those transports to get behind us. The battle raged for several minutes. The Lufol was outnumbered but had the element of surprise. The Vorax hadn't expected to face a ship with military capabilities. Their tactics were sloppy, unused to real resistance. The Lufol's modified mining equipment proved more effective than anyone had hoped. The drilling lasers, designed to cut through asteroid rock, sliced through the Vorax ship's hulls with surprising ease. "Sir, the first Vorax ship is breaking apart," called out the sensors officer. A cheer went up from the crew as one of the enemy vessels exploded, its purple energy core going critical. But the victory was short-lived. The remaining two Vorax ships coordinated their attacks, hammering the Lufol from different angles. "Shields at 40%, came the report. "We can't take much more of this." Tom gripped his command chair. "Route emergency power to the shields, and target their weapon systems specifically." The Lufol shuddered under another hit. A panel exploded on the bridge, sending sparks flying. But the human ship kept fighting, its converted weapons firing constantly at the Vorax vessels. One of the transport ships, seeing an opening, made a dash for open space. It got clear of the battle and jumped away to safety. "That's one group of civilians saved," Tom said. "Now let's make sure the rest survive too." With careful targeting, they managed to disable the weapons on one of the remaining Vorax ships. It retreated, moving away at high speed. The last Vorax ship, seeing its companions defeated or retreating, fired a final salvo at the mining station, then turned to flee. "Stop them," Tom ordered. "If they report back, more will come." The Lufol fired everything it had at the escaping ship. At the last moment, their makeshift missiles found their mark. The Vorax ship exploded in a burst of purple fire. The bridge crew cheered again, this time louder and longer. They had won. Against all odds, a converted mining ship had defeated 3 Vorax warships. As they moved to help the damaged mining station, Tom received a new message from Earth. His smile faded as he read it. "What is it, Captain?" asked his first officer. Tom looked up, his face grim. "A Confederation battlecruiser is on its way. Admiral Tulrax himself wants to know what happened here, and why there's a human ship with weapons in the area." The celebration on the bridge died instantly. They had saved the colony, but now they faced a different kind of fight, one they couldn't win with lasers and shields. "What do we do, sir?" asked the communications officer. Tom straightened his uniform. "We tell the truth. We did what the Confederation wouldn't do. We protected our people." He looked around at his crew, "And I don't regret it for a second." As the Confederation cruiser appeared on their sensors, massive and imposing, the crew of the Lufol prepared to face the consequences of their actions. But they did so with pride. They had proven that humans wouldn't stand idly by while their people were attacked, treaty or no treaty. The Confederation headquarters was much less welcoming this time. No crowds cheered, no cameras flashed. Instead, armed guards stood at every door as Jack walked into the tribunal chamber. The room was circular, with high ceilings and tall windows showing the stars outside. 7 alien representatives sat at a curved table on a raised platform. In the center was Admiral Tulrax, his 4 eyes blinking with what Jack now recognized as anger. "Commander Jack Miller of Earth," Tulrax announced, his voice echoing in the large room. "You stand accused of violating the Treaty of Limitations. How do you plead?" Jack stood straight in his uniform. Behind him sat Captain Tom Reeves, Lisa Collins, and the rest of the Sea-Ship team. They had all been brought to answer for their actions. "I plead that we followed the letter of the treaty, if not its spirit," Jack said clearly. Murmurs ran through the room. This was not the answer they expected. "Explain yourself," demanded a small blue-skinned representative from a species Jack didn't recognize. Jack nodded and pressed a button on the small device in his hand. A hologram appeared, showing the text of the treaty. Section 27. Article 12 states that Earth must not build, design, or maintain warships of any kind. But nowhere in the treaty is the term warship defined. Jack looked at each of the 7 judges. The Lufol was designed and built as a mining vessel. Its primary function was mining. A mining vessel does not destroy 3 Vorax ships in combat, Tolrax said coldly. A mining vessel with certain, adaptable features can, Jack replied. We did not build a warship. We built a ship that could defend itself and others if needed. Semantics. Tolrax slammed his hand on the table. This is a clear violation. May I speak? Lisa stood up from her seat behind Jack. The blue alien nodded. You are Dr. Lisa Collins, designer of this vessel. I am, Lisa said. And I would like to ask the tribunal a question. Where were your ships when the Vorax attacked Wolf 359? Silence fell over the room. Tolrax's eyes narrowed. Our patrol routes are not the subject of this hearing, he said. They should be, Jack said, stepping forward again. He activated another hologram, showing the movements of Confederation ships away from human colonies in the weeks before the attack. Your ships were systematically withdrawn from human space. Why? Fleet movements are classified. Tolrax began. Were you testing us? Jack interrupted, seeing how we would respond when attacked. Or did you simply not care if human colonies were destroyed? One of the other judges, a reptilian alien with golden scales, leaned forward. These are serious accusations, Commander Miller. I have evidence, Jack said. He sent more data to the display system. Communications between Confederation vessels ordering them to delay response to the Wolf 359 distress calls. The reptilian judge examined the data, then looked at Tolrax with what might have been suspicion. The treaty promised Confederation protection, Jack continued. In exchange, we gave up our right to build warships. But when we needed that protection, it wasn't there. 5,000 people would have died if we hadn't acted. The Lufol saved not just the mining station, but 2 transport ships full of civilians. Captain Tom added, children, families, all would be gone if we had followed the spirit of your treaty. The 7 judges talked among themselves in low voices. Jack could see that some of them were troubled by the evidence he had presented. After several minutes, the blue alien spoke again. We will continue this hearing tomorrow. For now, the humans will remain under guard in their embassy. As they left the chamber, a small alien with pink skin and large eyes approached Jack. He recognized her as Representative Kell from one of the smaller Confederation species. Commander Miller, she whispered, many of us are impressed by what you did, and concerned about what it reveals about the Confederation's priorities. What do you mean? Jack asked quietly. My people have also noticed the fleet movements. Our colonies, too, have been left unprotected at times. She glanced around nervously. We are not the only ones. Several smaller species have been discussing this problem. Before she could say more, a guard approached, and she quickly moved away. Back at the Earth Embassy, Jack and his team gathered to discuss their situation. They're going to make an example of us, Tom said grimly. They can't let this stand. If other species see us getting away with this, we didn't do anything wrong, Lisa insisted. We found a legal way to protect ourselves when they wouldn't do it. Legal or not, Tolrax wants our heads, Jack said. But I think we got allies we didn't expect. He told them about his conversation with Representative Kell. Before they could discuss it further, alarms began to sound throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed red in the corridors. A voice came over the communication system. Attention all personnel. Vorax fleet detected approaching Confederation space. Multiple targets, multiple vectors. This is not a drill. Jack rushed to the communication terminal and called the tribunal chamber. The reptilian judge answered. Judge Slack, what's happening? Jack asked. The Vorax are launching a major offensive, Slack said, his voice tense. They're attacking multiple Confederation worlds simultaneously. We're mobilizing all available ships. But what? Jack pressed. But it may not be enough. Slack admitted. The ships we moved from your colonies. Many were moved to Central Confederation space. The outer worlds are vulnerable. Jack looked at his team. They all nodded, understanding what needed to be done. Judge Slack, Jack said, Earth has 5 more sea ships ready for action. And we can build more, quickly. Let us help. The treaty, Slack began. People are dying. Jack cut him off. Worry about the treaty later. There was a long pause, then Slack nodded. I will speak to the other judges, but I believe they will agree. We need every ship we can get. As the communication ended, Lisa turned to Jack. You realize what this means. If we help them now, they can't punish us later without looking like hypocrites. I'm not thinking about that, Jack said honestly. I'm thinking about stopping the Vorax before they destroy more innocent lives, human or alien. Tom smiled slightly. Always the hero, Jack. But she's right. This is our chance to show the Confederation what humans can really do. Jack nodded. Send the signal to Jupiter. Tell them to deploy all sea ships and get me General Roberts. We need to start building more, as many as possible. As his team rushed to carry out his orders, Jack looked out the window at the stars. The fight ahead would be difficult, but it would also be a chance to prove that humanity belonged among those stars, not as second-class citizens, but as equals. And maybe, just maybe, to change the Confederation itself for the better. Space above the planet Vega Prime burned with energy weapons and explosions. The Vorax fleet had pushed deep into Confederation territory, their purple-hulled ships moving in perfect formation. They had already destroyed 3 outer colonies and now threatened one of the Confederation's core worlds. Against them stood the remaining Confederation warships, their sleek designs normally impressive, but now seeming fragile against the Vorax onslaught. And among them, looking out of place but fighting just as hard, were 12 Earth ships. The sea ships, once disguised as mining vessels, now openly showed their converted forms. On the bridge of the flagship Loophole, Captain Tom Reeves watched the battle unfold on the main screen. The Vorax are pushing toward the southern hemisphere, reported his tactical officer. The Confederation cruisers can't hold them. Tom nodded and opened a channel to the other human ships. All sea ships, this is Captain Reeves. The enemy is breaking through in Sector 4. Let's show them what humans can do. The human ships moved as one, changing course to intercept the Vorax breakthrough. Unlike the rigid Confederation battle formations, the sea ships adapted quickly, shifting their tactics as the situation changed. Sir, called out the communications officer, Admiral Tolrax is ordering us to maintain position with the main fleet. Tom looked at Jack, who stood beside his command chair as the mission coordinator. Tell the Admiral we respectfully decline, Jack said. Our ships are designed for flexibility. We can do more good where we're going. As the sea ships engaged the Vorax breakthrough force, something unexpected happened. The human vessels began rapidly shifting their configurations. Weapons that had been facing forward rotated to cover their flanks. Shield energy redistributed to protect vulnerable areas. What are they doing? Asked a Confederation officer watching from their command ship. They're adapting, Judge Slack replied, his reptilian eyes wide with surprise. Their ships are changing to meet the threat as it evolves. The Vorax, faced with this unexpected flexibility, struggled to adjust their tactics. They had studied Confederation ships and knew their capabilities and limitations. But these human vessels followed no standard pattern. One moment, a sea ship would hang back, firing long-range weapons. The next it would charge forward, its mining drills repurposed as short-range cutting beams that sliced through Vorax shields. The sea ships are creating an opening, Lisa Collins reported from the command center on Earth, where she was monitoring the battle. But they can't hold it alone. On his ship, Jack saw the same thing. We need the Confederation ships to follow us through. Together, we can break their line. Jack opened a channel directly to Judge Slack's ship. Judge, We've created an opening in the Vorax formation. If your ships follow us in, we can split their fleet." There was a pause, then Admiral Tolrax's voice came over the channel instead. "This is not the agreed battle plan, Commander Miller. Plans change when the battle changes." "Admiral," Jack replied, "this is our chance." Another voice joined the channel, Representative Kell. "Admiral, the human strategy is working. We should support them." For a tense moment, there was silence. Then, "Very well. All ships, follow the human vessel's lead." The combined fleet pushed forward, the sea ships leading the way. Their adaptability created openings that the more powerful but less flexible Confederation ships could exploit. Hours later, the battle was over. The Vorax fleet retreated, leaving behind destroyed ships and damaged planets. The cost had been high. 3 sea ships destroyed, many Confederation vessels lost. But Vega Prime had been saved, and the Vorax advance halted. 1 week later, Jack Miller once again stood before the Confederation Tribunal. But this time, the mood was different. Behind him stood not just his team but representatives from several Confederation species. "Commander Miller," Judge Slack began, "this tribunal has reviewed the actions of Earth in the recent conflict. We have also examined the evidence you presented regarding the Treaty of Limitations." Admiral Tolrax sat silently, his 4 eyes unblinking. Jack couldn't read his expression. "It is the finding of this tribunal," Slack continued, "that while the spirit of the treaty may have been violated, the letter was not. Furthermore, the actions of your sea ships saved countless lives and revealed." He glanced at Tolrax, "certain questionable decisions within our own command structure." A murmur ran through the chamber. "Therefore, we propose a new treaty, one that removes the restrictions on human ship design, but establishes mutual oversight for all species, large and small." Representative Kell stepped forward. "Many of the smaller Confederation species support this proposal. We have all seen how the current system left some worlds vulnerable, while others were protected." Tolrax finally spoke. "The old ways ensured peace for centuries." "They ensured control," Jack said firmly. "But peace requires cooperation, not control." The tribunal voted 6-1 in favor of the new treaty, with only Tolrax opposed. 3 months later, Jack stood in a shipyard orbiting Mars. Through the large window, he could see dozens of ships under construction. Some were new sea ships, but others were different. Collaborative designs, with human adaptability combined with alien technologies. Lisa joined him at the window. "The first joint design team finished their work yesterday," she said. "The Kell engineers were amazed by how quickly we could modify our designs. And we were amazed by their shield technology," Jack added. "Together, we're building something better than either of us could alone." General Roberts entered the observation room. "The Vorax are regrouping," she said without preamble. "Intelligence suggests they'll try again, maybe within a year." "We'll be ready," Jack said confidently. "Not just humans, but all of us together." "You've started something remarkable, Jack," Lisa said, looking out at the new ships. "Not just new vessels, but a new way of working together." Outside the window, one of the new joint design ships fired its engines for the first time, moving slowly away from the dock. Its hull combined the sleek lines of Confederation design with the practical adaptability of human engineering. On its side was a new emblem, not just Earth's symbol, but a combined mark representing all the species that had worked on it. "We weren't allowed to build warships," Jack said, watching the ship move gracefully into space. "So we built something better, ships that can change, adapt, and protect, just like humanity always has." As the new ship accelerated away for its first test flight, Jack thought about how far they had come. From being restricted by a treaty to helping reshape the Confederation itself. It wasn't the weapons that had made the difference, but human creativity and determination. That was something no treaty could ever take away.